You cannot work alone. That's the biggest lesson for me. So the biggest success of our practice is that we have a great team.
Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Daniel Nguyen, the host of the Logo Domination Show. Today, I have Dr. Marium, a very, very unique individual who started her practice unusual, like most people, and she was able to purchase a very big office and made it work for her. And given what she didn't have experience owning her own private practice, and she went out and purchased a very large office and make success from it. So I'm so excited to have her on. Dr. Marium, can you introduce yourself?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I've seen a few of the other, podcast recordings, and I was really impressed. So it's an honor to be here. So basically, my husband and I, we bought the practice in 2018, April. And I personally did not have any business experience, but my husband comes from a background of he owned different businesses. And just prior to this, he was working for Apple for the past 6 years. So, needless to say, I have a great partner. And that's why I think we had a really good team starting out. And that's why we went out and kind of bought a bigger practice than what we had originally thought of. It's a practice in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's called Maplewood Dental Group. And it is 9-op practice, and it has some potential to expand more. That's what we have been doing. I basically managed more of the clinical side, and I'm actually very lucky and fortunate to be able to get my vision in place. So before I bought a practice, before I thought of buying a practice, I always had a thing in my mind, like I had a dream, this is the type of practice I want. And I feel like I have been able to do that since we bought the practice. So I feel very fortunate.
There's a couple things that's going well. The first thing that I want to kind of point out is if you're working with your husband, that's very hard. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, there are days that are hard, but I think we have learned to work together in the same same office. The thing is that we're both so busy. It's not like we're sitting around the whole day and we're like, oh, okay, we don't. Some days we hardly get to see each other because sometimes he's busy in meetings, I'm busy seeing patients, or I'm in a meeting. So the dynamics work really well for us. I'm really glad that he's not a dentist. I think if we were both dentists, that would have been really hard. I know it works for other people, other couples who are both dentists and own practices together, but I think the type of person I am, it wouldn't have worked that well if we were both dentists. I would have made it work, but it's just easier this way.
That's very cool because I also work with my wife in her business.
Oh.
She has like beauty salons, and I'm the marketing genius, guru, operator, admin person, and I do all of the back end stuff. And she's the the face of the company. She's working, and I do agree with what you said. Sometimes we play our strength, and together we are able to work very effectively for the business and not overlapping each other. That's how businesses grow.
Right. Right.
So what is your biggest lesson that you learned since you opened your Maplewood Dental practice in 2018?
I think the biggest lesson would be you cannot work alone. That's the biggest lesson for me. Working with my husband, working with a great team. So the biggest success of our practice is that we have a great team. In total, we are 19 people, 19 members in one office. Not everybody's is in the building at the same time because we have hygienists who are part-timers, some are full-timers. But I think when we come together as a team. So I think as a leader, you're not just leading or saying, okay, I'm the leader. You've got to work with the team, together. The success of the practice is not because I am there or my husband is there or someone else is there. It's because everybody's there together and we're working together as a team.
Yeah, I could not agree more with what you just said. It's so important to install a culture in a business. I understand that culture sometimes sounds like it's a big company kind of thing, but no, it's not. Even at a local brick and mortar level, if you have few employees, it's still important to install a culture in your business so that your employees have a sense of directions of why would they be there, you know? Like
Right.
just simple as like daily huddles, morning, evening
Mhm.
huddles, end of the
Right.
day reports. And every communication is open. Like, hey, look, I'm pretty open communication. If you have anything you want to talk about, come to my office, like, right?
Exactly.
And I think like so where did you learn to be such an effective leader and of your team, and how did you hire and recruit people to kind of like become your asset of the business?
Again, I think like my husband and I, we have a vision. Let's talk about like recruiting or hiring people for our team. Whenever we've needed to hire people, we try to find people who would gel in well with all of us. So, I mean, there are people who are great on paper and they have like the best things that you could ask for in a hygienist or in an associate or in an assistant or any other office staff. But I think we end up picking those people who would settle down well with all of us. Who, number one, the best thing, the first thing that we look for is being a team player. So for example, like in a dental office, when we're on a Wednesday, for example, we have 5 hygienists working, we have 3 doctors, we have 3 assistants, we have 4 office staff, and then my husband and I. Oh, my husband and I'm one of the 3 doctors. So it's a lot of people working together.
Yeah, I think like for most businesses, we have to always on the recruiting mode, always listing your job, always interviewing people, and always, looking out for the superstar if they do ever come by. And
Yes.
if they do come by, if they seem like a superstar, make sure you make an good offer and recruit that person into your practice, because they are the key member to help you scale and grow and keeping the entire business together. And also, I do want to add on to like what you said about hiring people based on, like giving everybody an opportunity to work, not just the resume, because I made that mistake and hire people with 20 years experience, shining resume, and they come in with an attitude. They're like, oh, well, I only work this hours. I need this. It's like, they're not a really good fit. But
Exactly.
the people who have it, I would say not the best resume, and they turn out to be the best worker, the best attitude. And they
Right.
work the hardest. So I think like, yeah, I always give and I'm glad you're also doing that, giving all the applicants a fair chance for them to try it and see how they fit into your culture and into your company. And if they are like a good fit, then you can offer, hey, look, you can start working full time now. Is that something that you're interested in? Right. So, now you got this practice, 19 employees, it's like busy. Like, what are some of your biggest challenge that you face that kind of like put you to a stop?
I think the biggest recent challenge was COVID. I think because of COVID, we had scheduling issues more in 2021 than in 2020. To be very honest, I mean, I think that was across the board. That wasn't just dentistry. That was pretty much everywhere in business. People were sick. They were not sure of getting treatment. In the beginning, I know that there was a lot of hype about not going to a dentist because it wasn't safe, because of the aerosols. After all that, all the studies and everything that happened, now people know that it's probably the safest place to go because there is so much PPE. There's so much, like you wear a mask and we wear a mask, and then there's all the suctions and the air purifiers and everything that's in place. I feel like now people understand that this was the safest place to go. I feel like, yeah, that time must have been probably the what you'd call the darkest time in terms of scheduling. And there were a lot of people who would just no show, and that was not a norm in our practice. Like, people were responsible, they would call if there was a problem and they would reschedule, but there were people at that time who would just no show. So that's, for us, that was a big hurdle. It was frustrating for the team members, frustrating for all of us, because like a patient no shows, that's an hour of no production.
Yeah, I think it was the toughest time because I'm sure you kept your staff in payroll and you didn't send them home, and a lot of
Right.
business owners We, for us, when COVID came, we decided to keep our staff on coming in. They still doing, work remotely, and I still keep a large payroll because I just it's a hard feeling to
Yeah,
let your staff go and tell them, hey, you're not going to get paid for the next 3 months. And I know they are their main income of the family. So, uh,
exactly.
and thank goodness my landlord was awesome. He allowed me to I didn't have to pay rent at the time. So I took my money and I just paid my payroll. So I kind of move things
Right.
around and kept
Exactly.
the business together. Like 6 months later, we're open, things are great. But I feel like it's the time that really tests our business, like a stress test, right? Can
Right.
we survive? If not, then we need to pivot and change the directions of how we're able to have a better saving, have a better emergency fund in place.
Exactly.
So things like that. So, now when it comes to growing your practice, what are some of your goals that you want to hit by the end of the year?
Well, one, obviously the most important important goal is a production goal, that we work for throughout the year. Um, the other things for me, because again, I'm going to go back to, because I had a vision for my practice. My goal each year is to either add a new skill set or to work on or establish an existing skill set. For example, this year, so we were doing Invisalign, which are the clear aligners in our practice since late 2018. But I wasn't really working on, we'd done a course, we'd started it, we'd do a case here and there. But then I took a course in May of 2022 from probably the biggest guru of Invisalign in the country. And I was blown away by that course. His name is Dr. Geller, and he's pretty amazing. He's the best course that I've ever taken. So taking that course, it really changed my mindset and how I see a lot of clinical conditions, and how I kind of started to relate a lot of clinical conditions with teeth not being aligned. So for me, it became more of a functional issue than an aesthetic issue. I've really kind of been invested into doing more of diagnosis when it comes to misaligned teeth, perio conditions. Perio is basically gum in the bone, issues where, there are hygiene issues.
Yeah, I really admire you are always learning, continue educations to kind of learn a new, product, a new skill set that you can bring back to your practice and, offer that new service to your client. And basically, you're just serving your client at a high level. And every year it's like, hey guys, we got something new to do this time. It's this new thing.
Exactly.
Basically, you continue to add a better user experience to your clients. And I'm glad you're doing that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Because I think patients deserve that. You can't just say static or stagnant at the position that you're in, and not learn. Because I feel like every course I take, even if it's like an hour lecture online, there's something that is new for me, that I pick up and I learn. So I think the learning never stops.
It's really interesting when you're a dentist and you're learning about more dentistry, even if
Yeah.
you are practicing, right? It's like me telling my family, yeah, I'm learning marketing. And they're like, don't you have a marketing company? I do, but I'm learning. I'm still going to conferences. I'm
Yeah.
learning, right? It's
Yeah.
always new thing that I don't know. So
Exactly.
I don't know
Exactly.
why.
So
Yeah, I don't know why it sounds weird. Like, why are you learning? Like you're already doing. I said, yes, that's exactly why I'm learning.
exactly. So for my field, dentistry changes every 10 years. Quite a few years ago, we used to have those manual x-rays where, you had to take an x-ray, then put it in the solutions, and then you'd come up with one x-ray. Now, since quite a few years, we have digital x-rays. So if people hadn't changed and they said, no, we're okay with the manual x-rays, we don't want to get the digital x-rays, this and that, they would have stayed where they were. So same thing with the iTero, that the 3D scanner that we have added into our practice. That's kind of becoming more of a norm and more of a standard of care. I wouldn't say standard of care in the sense that everybody should have it, but for our practice, it works because the patient has got to see what's in their mouth. They've got to have a better view of, rather than just an X-ray or something else. So for us, it is the standard of care at this point.
Thank you for sharing that. I actually saw that 3D scan at one of the office tour I got on here on the podcast, and it's really cool. Very detailed images on the screen, and you see exactly what's the condition. So, as we're coming to the end of our fun interview here, what are some of the podcasts that you like listening to, or books that you read that you found value and really help you grow your business? Can you share it with our audience?
So I will be very honest. My commute to my practice is less than 5 minutes. So I listen to podcasts whenever I have, time during my drive. The most recent podcast that I listened to is a local domination show. So it's your podcast. The other ones, I do listen to some dental business podcasts. There was a clinical podcast I used to listen to. It's been a few years that I've listened to him. But it's just, I don't feel like I have the proper time because my commute is very short when it comes to driving.
Yeah, it's really tough to have the time between business and then at home, being a mother and wife and family. So I totally get it. Like I have 2 young kids, and it's really difficult to manage the time. So I know you're super busy, and that's why I really appreciate you coming on and share with us your insights with our audience. So thank you for doing that. And to all the listener, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you, everybody.